My next guest is going to be taking on Jordan Leavitt, UFC Fight Night, November 18th. It is right around the corner. It is Chase Hooper back here on the program. Chase, how are you?
Good. Just getting the weight down, getting the cardio up and yeah, getting ready for November.
Yeah, it's coming up here pretty quickly. I know when you and I always do our interviews, it's like, there's no rush to get your next fight. It's like you're still looking to develop that skill set and everything. I imagine this was the right amount of time off for you.
Yeah, definitely. We had a trip planned in August and all that, so I wanted to, make sure that we had enough time to have a full camp and not be dieting while I'm on vacation type of thing. But definitely if all goes well here, hopefully get out, no injuries. I'd like to start fighting definitely a little more often,
Okay.
especially at 55 where I don't have to cut as much.
Exactly. I know that's a big difference for sure. By the way, you just glanced over it. Where'd you go on vacation?
We went to Italy. We
Oh,
wanted to
cool.
check out Europe for a little bit. It was cool.
Nice. How was that? Probably tough on the stomach with all that bread out there. There's a lot of good food, man. I'm sure you gained a little
Yeah,
bit.
definitely, definitely. It
Yeah.
was nice to not have to diet during that. So
Yeah, yeah, it's almost like worthless to go on the vacation if you can't eat the food. That's like half the fun of going to Italy, right? So,
definitely.
yeah, for sure. So they tell you you're fighting Jordan Leavitt. Is this like the nicest matchup of all time? Like you guys are like two of the nicest people in the UFC. I'm sure you knew a lot about him before taking this fight, but does that make it harder, or is it the same as any other opponent?
No, I mean, and this is, I don't know, it goes with anybody. Like when I'm in the cage, I know obviously like I've kind of like reframed it in my head a little bit. Like it's not a fight so much as like we're competing, that type of thing. I
Right.
think it just, I don't know, mentally that just makes it easier for me to like, not get too nervous, not get too anxious, that type of thing. Um, but like it's business. I see him around the PI a lot. Like we've hung out in the sauna before. I've talked to him a little bit. Um, that's just kind of how it goes in Vegas. Like you end up seeing a lot of guys that either you fought, you're gonna fight, or the guys that you want to fight, that type of thing. So it's always kind of like a weird,
Yeah, it's going
I
to
don't
happen
know.
if you're at the PI. Like, I mean, you're going to see
Yeah,
tons of fighters there. So,
yeah, it's a weird kind of like subtle tension in the place. Everybody's kind of, eyeing everybody up and seeing what these matchups are gonna look like. Just sizing guys up and all that. But no, I mean, he's a professional, so am I. He's a nice guy, so am I. But at the end of the day, we're gonna compete. We're gonna see who's better that night, and hopefully that'll be me.
would it be easier if you were fighting someone you didn't like, do you think? Or does it not matter? Like, you still, like you said, had that mode in your head where, the framing is like it's just a competitor.
I mean, I've honestly, when I first got into UFC, or when I first started fighting, even like I liked not knowing anything about my opponent.
Okay.
I've only had like one guy that I thought that I didn't like as a human being. But everybody else, especially in UFC, is like pretty professional. Everybody's pretty decent people. Like, they're doing the same as me. They're trying to provide for themselves and their families. And this is just the route that they pick to do it. It doesn't really affect me. Like I just, it's kind of cutthroat. It's either me or them. And I'd rather that be me getting my hand raised and getting those two checks.
Absolutely. Well said. Stylistically, how are you looking at this fight as far as what you bring to the table in Jordan?
I mean, honestly, I think the position that we're at on the card being the featured bout, like being that high up on the card just shows how good of a matchup it is. Um, Two very grappling heavy guys. Jordan will strike a little bit, but he's awkward. He definitely wants to be grappling, I think, 9 times out of 10. Um, and I think I'm kind of on the similar boat. So I think you'll see a lot of fun scrambles or like maybe a little bit of awkward striking beforehand. But yeah, I think he likes to slow the pace down where I'm kind of the opposite. So
Mhm.
we'll kind of see where that medium's going to end up of like if he's able to slow the pace down or if I'm, keeping us scrambling the whole 15 minutes. But yeah, I mean, I'm doing a lot of just like the last fight. I'm really pushing the cardio. I'm really pushing guys, grappling me in weird positions, hopping on my back, trying to, rip my head off, that type of thing. But that's what makes this matchup fun is like they both have two very similar styles, and I mean honestly, neither me or him know how it's gonna go until we lock up and start grappling a little bit. So I think it's pretty exciting matchup for me at least.
You mentioned the fact that you're fighting now at lightweight, and it does seem like you sort of talked about after your last fight as well, like something that you wish you would have done maybe earlier. Has the process much different as far, like other than the actual weight, is the process about the same as what you did to 45? Like take me through your weight cut, which I'm sure is not as much of a factor in your camps going forward.
Yeah, I mean to an extent now it's just like I mentioned it in the past, my body would stop losing weight at around 170. Where to make 145, I had to be going into fight week at like, below 165. So there was like a good, 5, 6 pounds that I would need to lose on top of where my body didn't want to cut anymore. So now I'm able to just diet down to around 175. It's a lot closer to my natural weight. I'm able to, like I was pretty much crash dieting to get to 145. I had to switch to doing protein shakes for pretty much my only meals the last couple weeks, which is hard to train off of. It's hard to it's hard to recover from that in 24 hours with weeks of starving yourself, that type of thing. So now I've been like really taking advantage of the PI, using, getting all the supplements, getting the Icon meals that they send me, which are pretty solid. Like they have me eating like still a pretty good variety of stuff. It's not just, meat and rice and vegetables. It's, it actually tastes good. So I'm happy with that. And makes the diet a whole lot easier. And it makes me, not feel like I need to stuff myself as soon as I weigh in.
Yeah.
I'm able to, be healthy and not just, gorge myself. And I mean, I feel great. I felt great the last fight. And, I was training hard that whole week, where before I couldn't even like, hit pads. I was so like lethargic, just not enough calories. So yeah, I feel like I'm kind of coming into my own, and 55 is definitely where I'm supposed to be right now.
You keep referencing the PI. So have you done your camp in Vegas, or is like take me through camp a little bit? Because I know you do some cross training as well on top of training back home in Washington State.
Yeah, so the only cross training I've really done this camp, I got a lot of training in with Chiesa for his Kevin Holland fight,
Okay, nice.
which was great. But that was, that was before I had this fight. So it was good grappling with those guys. They have a different style. Maybe see if I can get them out in the next week or two. But I cross trained over in South Carolina with Wonderboy and those guys. I mean, they obviously have a very different style of striking than Jordan, but they're so good that they can, give you really whatever look you need. And it's just, getting different sparring, that type of stuff. But other than that, staying home, just calling in, with the dietitians and stuff, getting all the meals, all the supplements, that type of thing. And yeah, I mean, it's been a great camp so far, honestly. Been pretty fun. I've been training hard and like still enjoying it. I'm not feeling like burnt out or anything, but I think going on vacation right before jumping into camp was definitely a good move as far as that goes. Just
Yeah,
keeping things fresh.
I'd say so too. How do you see this fight playing out on November 18th? What's your prediction?
I mean, I think the end of the fight, regardless, both of us are going to be pretty tired by the end of it. I mean, I think he's a good grappler, but I feel that some of the better grapplers that he's fought, Claudio Puelles and Patty, have, caught him slipping a little bit. I think those are his only two losses in UFC. But solid grapplers. I don't think he's used to fighting as tall of people. Um, and, I think I have a weird style of grappling that's hard to mimic. I mean, so is his, but I think his is a little more wrestling based than mine. But yeah, I mean, a lot of fun scrambles, maybe some awkward striking, who knows? And, hopefully snatching up a sub, but that's kind of on the back burner to just get in good position and, trying not to let him beat me in the scrambles.
We just had the UFC 294 card last weekend. I'm sure you caught it. What did you think of, first off, the Chimaev and Usman fight? Ended up being a lot closer than I think people expected.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty impressed with Usman off of, 10 days notice. I wouldn't mind seeing them run that fight back with both having a full camp. But, I mean, I think Usman's probably a pretty big welterweight, and so is Chimaev. So it's, both of them not having to cut as much, so they're both probably performing a little better, a little healthier. We'll see. I'd love to see that fight. Love to see that rematch sometime in the future.
And then the main event, obviously, Islam finishing Volkanovski. What was your reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's Islam's big, like ace up the sleeve is that his wrestling is so good that it sets up his striking. Like nobody goes into a fight with Islam like worrying about the striking, at least not as much as they're worried about getting held down. So I think his grappling is so good that it presents those opportunities in the striking, and he's been able to, build it up, um, in his camps and all that. Just again, always having the wrestling to fall back on, and then now he's able to, play around with it. And I mean, that was a great knockout against, one of the best fighters in UFC history. Honestly, at this point, his track record's showing it. And especially after the last fight being kind of you know, I wouldn't say necessarily the most controversial, but people were definitely split on who won that fight. And then he definitely settled that. Again, even on 10 days notice, but to get a finish against a guy that caliber is definitely impressive.
I know this is sort of a new division for you. A win here, like how soon are we going to start to see you fight these ranked guys? It's a pretty deep division, but you get another impressive win here. Do you kind of feel like you're maybe a fight or two away from a ranked opponent?
I don't know. Honestly, like I said, I'm trying to fight more consistently. If I could get 3 fights in next year, that'd be perfect. I don't know. Again, 155 is pretty stacked. I'm not in a rush to get into the rankings, but I definitely want to stay busy next year. We'll see. I'd rather take the slow path up,
Yeah.
fighting my way up slowly, and hopefully I'd like to fight a lot of the other jiu-jitsu guys at 55. There's a couple others that I have my eye on. Um, but yeah, I mean, taking it nice and slow, and just take it fight by fight like I have been.
USADA's leaving the UFC. I know you're getting a new, governing or not governing, but like a new program that's coming into the UFC. Instead, they're going to work with someone else. What was your reaction to USADA leaving, and what was your overall experience with USADA since it's going away in January?
Uh, at first I thought it was kind of concerning that they're using the same people that do the testing for, the NFL, NBA, that type of thing. Because all the football players are juiced to the gills. Like these guys can't play weekly, running into each other for hours on end, for months at a time without having something extra in their system to help with their recovery and all that. And they're all just massive anyways. So I was kind of concerned with that. If I'd heard the NFL drug testing is more like an IQ test. It's do these guys because they know well in advance when they're going to get tested. But I actually got an email from Nowitzki yesterday saying that it's still going to be honestly the same for us as it has been. Like they're still going to be able to test you whenever. UFC is going to have their own whereabouts thing. So currently with USADA, like they know where I am 24/7, and they can just show up with a cup, and then I got to pee in it. So um, I don't know. Like I've never had any crazy bad experiences with USADA. I'm currently one test away from getting my free T-shirt, so we'll see if that.
It's all worth it for the T-shirt, right? It's like the
Yeah, we'll
Subway
see.
stamps. You get the
I'm
free
gonna be
sub.
mad if they end at 24 tests because I just did one like a week ago. But I mean, obviously, it's not fun to wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning and have to pee in a cup for with some dude standing there watching you. But yeah, I mean, there's got to be some accountability in the sport, and I'll take what I can get.
There you go. Hey, Chase, thanks for doing this, man. Looking forward to the fight. UFC Fight Night, November 18th. If there's anyone you want to thank before we get out of here, any sponsors, any social media you want to mention, I'll give you the last word.
No, I mean, I'm good. Just shout out to my team, Combat Sport and Fitness, for all the work. all the upstate karate guys in South Carolina. Good sparring with them. And yeah, thanks for having me.